Hello everybody, my name is Herbert Midgley,
And I'm Amit Dedia.
and it's been a while since we did a Return of Whatever and a Herb Report and all that fun stuff, and whenever we get the two amigos together, we always try to find at least an hour or a few minutes to get together to do a podcast for all our friends out there in podcast land
Yeah?
and so forth. And this is my spring break, and this is not your spring break.
No, not at all.
And for whatever reason, well, I'll tell you the reason why. I was able to pick up a Epiphone Les Paul copy. And I paid $150 for it. And I just started playing more and more electric guitar. And then, for whatever reason, I really wanted a Gibson Les Paul. Basically, the Epiphone's the kind of the inexpensive, more of the, I won't say student model, but I guess in some ways kind of the more inexpensive guitar. And then the Gibson is the higher price one. Kind of like if you're in the Fenders, it's a higher brand, and then Squire is the more economical, the more economical one. So, in any case, sadly in Nacogdoches, there is no Gibson dealer. There are no Gibson dealers there, and I haven't tried any of the new ones out. I never even played a 2007, 2000. I haven't played a. I don't think I played ever. Said for the last few days. Anything that was even like a 90s Les Paul and so forth. So, any case, I came down here. Amit was gracious to let me come crash at his pad a little bit, and that gave me some time to kind of go to various guitar shops and whatnot and so forth. So, I got to go out and try a lot of Les Pauls, and as we were talking about the guitars, I played a lot of the 2006, and I won't say that I'm the greatest guitar player, because I'm not, but I know what I like to play and so forth. And I played all these new ones and just did not like them. And I went to one guitar store that had a used Les Paul and played it and went back again and played it and went back, and then I decided that this is the one that I wanted to have. And so here it is. This is a 96 Les Paul Studio, and it's kind of a wine color, I guess, kind of a red wine.
Yeah, burgundy-ish.
Burgundy color, and it's a 12-year-old guitar. It's been used, but the tone of it sounds great, and for me, what I care more about is the playing ability of it, and sadly, the new ones just, in my humble opinion, just didn't play that well. I didn't get a chance to play the $5,000, the $3,000 models. Because I know there's no way I would probably buy one of those.
Yeah.
And they had those. Remember out there at the Guitar Center, they had them like way up there.
Oh yeah. You had to go get somebody to get them off the high racks and go to the top shelf there. But for those who've got a little too much money or are really that into it, I guess.
Well, as we talked about a little bit before that, can you imagine going and finding a 1996 computer, and then have that be better than the 2008 computer? And no,
can't do that. But I would say, do I think that a $6,000 computer is that much better than a $2,000 computer? Probably not.
Not for surfing the web.
Yeah, not for day-to-day use. No, I mean if it was some high-end number crunching and powerhouse server or something, maybe, but I don't see that on the surfing the web, and even being a programmer, you don't really need that much power.
Let's go back in time a little bit. When we did the whatever show, like that was 2002 range, 2003 range, something like that.
Yeah, 2003 to 2000. Actually, no, 2000. Actually, 2005, 2006, or whatever. Return of Whatever.
Well, whatever first.
Whatever, yeah.
I think it was
2002 to
2003 or something like that. 2004. And then we did Return
2000.
of Whatever for a good year and a half, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
We got weekly for more than 60 episodes.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think almost all the podcasts I won't say that almost, but
I will say one thing. Out of all the podcasts that were not monetized, on anything other than really Twit and anything by Revision 3, we were one of the few that actually stayed on the air for over a year consistently.
Yeah, dang near every week. Yeah, well, it was every week. It was
Yeah.
especially, and if y'all want to try that, that's not hard. That's not an easy thing to do.
Oh, it's definitely tough to come up with new topics every week, and put together show notes, find time even. I mean, all of us have very different schedules.
I think that was the thing that pretty much put the nail in the coffin, was that we got to the point that we were so busy doing other things that we couldn't even find an hour once a week to get together, and just kind of lost some of that focus. And at some point maybe we'll try it up again if we ever get a little bit more time.
If my future ventures plan out, I do wish to podcast again a little bit, because I think that would be a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah, and a beautiful thing like this, I think we could pick back up. And now with the technology of some of the cool gadgets that I got the chance to see here in Houston that I haven't seen in Nacogdoches, such as talk a little bit about the Apple TV.
Oh yeah.
I think that's something that I actually may go pick up one of those puppies now.
Yeah, Apple released that Apple TV a couple years ago, and I guess about a year and a half ago maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And they came up with the firmware update and the hard drive, and the price dropped this past year. So myself, I'm a consumer who doesn't really watch TV that often. There are some shows I like to watch, but I don't think it's worth spending $50 for the basic cable package nowadays, especially if it's only when I want to watch maybe 2 shows a season or so. So I went ahead and gave the Apple TV a shot, and I've been amazed. I love the device. I love the main thing I love about it is actually the podcasts. The video podcasts, they even have HD ones that are completely free, and you can subscribe to them. I mean, we were watching one of my favorites, which is Dignation, on my TV yesterday, and it
fantastic.
better than TV. And I've got a 42-inch LCD, and they look beautiful.
Yeah, I think finally the technology now is basically, it's a no-brainer now. You can just go down and find a podcast, bam, pick which ones you want, search whichever you want, bam, and that's it. And one of the reasons I think, and podcasts did blow up for the tech community, and I think that a lot of the mom and pop, like the granny effect, as we used to talk about, that was a little bit beyond them, what RSS feeds were and subscribing to something on iTunes.
Well, even relatively tech-savvy people that I know don't realize that podcasts are free.
Yeah, you don't need an iPod to listen to them.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You don't realize that you need an iPod to listen to them, which I think is, I guess, really there needs to be some sort of industry that's promoting podcasts as a free to the consumer source of entertainment.
Well, I was looking around earlier today, and on there, and it's amazing what is a podcast now. There used to be a political show that I used to watch back when I was a kid, and I used to watch it. It was called the McLaughlin Group. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They used to be on PBS. And anyways, they don't have the video on there, but they have the whole audio part of it. And we talked about before that a lot of times for me, I'm in front of the computer anyways. I don't need to see the screen. I'm just listening to it anyways. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I don't even need any visual part. I can just listen to that. And then apparently CNN has news updates. I'm not sure if it's every hour, but they have news updates. I want to listen to the news on there. And it's really amazing how many things are just on the top realm of it. And then there's a lot more that's not on the top realm that you can dig and find. And I think you're right. You don't need the cable. You can to be entertained with something on there. And a lot of this stuff is really funny and really innovative in a lot of ways.
Yeah, actually, one of the cool things that I liked is, there is the video podcasting. There are a lot of podcast providers out there, or creators out there that also keep an audio stream out there. I'm a huge fan of NPR's This American Life. Mm-hmm. That is a podcast that you can get on the net. In certain cities that I've lived in, I didn't have access to NPR, and I thought that was horrible because I could not listen to my weekly one show.
Well, for me, like my commute time is 2 minutes. I know yours is a little bit longer.
No, mine's about 5 minutes.
Oh, well, that's I said a little bit longer, which is you're definitely not the norm here in Houston, probably.
Oh no. If I was the norm here in Houston of an hour or so commute times, yeah, I would definitely be listening to podcasts every day, and even at work though, I do listen to them as I'm working.
Yeah, well, for me, there are some things that I would never listen to because I'm not in the car to listen to it on the radio long enough because I get to work really 3 minutes. Uh, and with that Apple TV, which I think I'll eventually pick one up. I think.
I would suggest that device, but I will give some caveats out there to anybody who's watching. If you're looking for a device to just play DivX movies or whatever, device I've been most impressed with has been honestly the PS3.
Oh really?
My good friend Joe, who lives upstairs, he's got a PS3 and he constantly streaming media to it.
Well,
Now the flip or the caveat on that is that you have to have a Windows machine to do that.
oh, I see. So you have your Windows machine with your information and you stream to the PS.
Yeah.
And the PS3, what is that? 400 range now?
The low end one I think is around the $400 range. But it's a Blu-ray player, it's a video game console, and it's also a media player.
Apparently, I don't game as much as I used to, but apparently what I've been hearing is not as many cool games for the PS3 as...
That's going to change. Now
Okay.
that the format wars are pretty much over, it's going to change. It's going to change. More people are looking at it as a serious console.
Yeah, well, definitely.
And Sony always puts money and effort into trying to enhance their product line. I mean, they try to keep the mini disc around forever.
You can still probably go buy a mini disc somewhere.
Well, you can get a mini disc player at the Sony Style Store.
Wow.
And I mean,
Betacam will still be always around.
yeah, people who had those devices loved them though. Yeah.
Well, I'm a big proponent of two of my actually three of the cameras I bought, digital cameras, are the 8mm ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad I can still buy 8mm media because Sony still makes a camera and I think they'll still produce the media 5 years after they stop making the camera itself.
Oh, yeah.
So when they stop, I still have 5 years to get that, and then they'll probably still make some more because they've sold a lot of those cameras.
Well, the cameras, plus, I mean, for the low-end consumer cameras, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of market there. But when it comes down to it, the professional cameras that people bought 10 years ago for thousands and thousands of dollars, they aren't going to want to replace you don't want to replace a $20,000 camera just because the media's out or isn't the common media anymore.
Yeah, it's really well,
I mean, it's all your accessories like your lenses and everything else that really add up.
Well, Betamax, died in the consumer market pretty quickly, but the Betacam, which was standard for TV stations all across the land for like really 20 some odd years, and there's someone probably still using them to this day. I think they finally got to the some of the Canon cameras or something like that now. But it really is fascinating. Yeah, so I mean, you're pretty happy with Apple.
I'm happy with my Apple TV. I'm happy with the Apple TV. I would love to get a iPhone if they'd only open it up to 3G network. Really excited about some of the recent developments with their SDK and some of their profit sharing plans seem pretty cool.
It looks like some of the BlackBerry, they're competing with the business market round with iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, I actually do know a couple business users who are starting to look at the iPhone seriously. Main reason they both stick with the BlackBerries is that the BlackBerries are Research in Motion's product. They integrated seamlessly with Outlook, and that was the big thing.
Yeah.
Or actually the Exchange server. But if you look at that in any depth, you would find that to really truly integrate with Exchange in a completely seamless way, the company you worked for had to pay for $100 a year per BlackBerry user they had.
Per user?
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, it's the licensing for the specific software that Research in Motion has developed for that.
Wow. I mean, that can add up. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's so much really cool stuff going on in technology-wise, and I think with the economy supposedly slowing down and whatnot, I think more folks are going to spend more time using, not going out as much, I guess. Last time we did this gas was like 2 something.
Oh, well, where I was at, I would think it was 287 last time I did this.
Yeah, and
But-
now they're saying that it may go up eventually to $4 a gallon, which you kind of get to a point you just think, well, okay. I mean, what can you do?
You know, I mean, a year ago or actually 3 years ago, when my coworkers were seeing gas prices climb up to the $3 range, we all said, at $3, we're all going to quit driving on as much. Fast forward 2 years, I mean, it went up $3, and we did stop driving as much. Then it went back down, and then it started inching back up there, but it didn't feel as bad because it had already been there.
Yeah.
So at the $4 mark, we're going to do the same thing. It's just going to hit everybody harder, I think, because...
Well, I mean, not this economic show, but, I can see, bread has gone up since last year, definitely.
Yeah, all of consumer price index is definitely lowered here.
That's why I bought this now, because at one point I won't be able to buy it when it triples.
Well, that's one of the things that I did recently is I purchased a new car. Meant kind of part of the reason why I went out for financing terms on the car. One is that I wanted to help establish some credit before I start looking at buying a house. But secondly, I was looking at it in the respect of, I can go buy a $20,000 car today, on payment terms, but $20,000 today, is not going to be $20,000 in 2 years, based on the depreciation value. I mean, just the currency values right now.
Yeah, I know it's like really. Well, we talk about whatever; it doesn't really matter. Have you heard much about folk? They're talking about basically the Miro. They're trying to basically do like what the Europeans did and have like one currency for North America.
I haven't even heard of that.
Oh, you have not? They were thinking about having the Canadian dollar, America, and the Mexican peso. I guess any other South American country that wanted to join up, and I guess kind of term it the Miro because of the euro, because anyways, and they were thinking that might help solidify it in some ways.
Solidify it? Yeah, if they had a governing body, but I'm pretty sure that if we would, it would be like the euro or like the UN or something with the US. Somebody's gonna do something wrong or something that we don't agree with, and we'll jump right out of it. The euro, I think, it was a really great idea, especially with all the small European countries so close to each other.
Seems to work out pretty well for them.
But there are countries that said, no, I'm not going to do that. Like London, I mean.
And their pound is still really strong. I like to go to Europe again this summer. I'm kind of debating right now, this cost wise, maybe buy me another guitar instead of going to Europe. Yeah. Keep it in America.
Yeah, keep the American economy going, man.
Well, I do feel like you learn a whole lot traveling, and that's one reason why I like doing it. Going out and meet different peoples, and even this last few days, Meet's been kind enough to take me some various different places to eat that I don't get a chance to eat at in East Texas. And the place we just came back from, man, that was really good.
Yeah, we went to a Mongolian barbecue. For those who are unfamiliar, well, I first would suggest that everybody should try it. Mongolian barbecues are pretty much you go there and you get to create your own dishes and they'll cook it.
And if you're Texan, there's no barbecue there. No barbecue sauce, okay?
They actually did have a barbecue.
Did they? Okay, I didn't see it.
At this particular one did have a barbecue type sauce.
I'm guessing somebody complained and they put some barbecue sauce out there. It's like, this is barbecue, where's the barbecue at? Well, here it is. It was really good. You pick your own meat, and then you pick your vegetables, and then you pick your sauce and seasoning, and then you tell them what starch you want, basically.
Yeah.
You want some rice or noodles or tortillas. And it's
or
the
carb.
Carb. Well,
starch, because no potatoes.
Carb. And you were saying that it's the cheapest place to get fajitas, basically.
Yeah, if you like fajitas, you just load up your bowl full of whatever you want your fajitas. Go over there, season up your food stuffs, and you go over there and you pop it on the grill and let it cook up, and tell them you want tortillas, and you can get this huge plate of fajitas out of it.
Yeah, I was, for the price point, it was really good. It was really good, and even that I remember at one point, whenever I went out to eat, $7 was kind of the high end, and now $10, $12 seems to be like the.
Yeah,
the
you were commenting during dinner that, when we used to go out and, and this is even 3 years ago, we used to go out to, say, any old restaurant and order a drink. Be 99 cents,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, like
And now it's like
lemonade or Coke or whatever.
$1.89.
Yeah, that's which golly.
Most of that is profit for the company, which I'm not going to beguile the company for trying to make profit, because heck, they need to stay in business to keep people employed. But still,
Yeah, I used to.
$1.50 versus the 70 cents they used to ask for profit.
And here's a tip: get water with lemon. It's free usually. That's why I get the water with lemon. And sometimes they don't bring out the lemon.
Yeah, actually, when you were out getting your second bowl, can't believe this guy eating 3 bowls worth of food.
Second time was no starch or whatever. No
carbs.
carb.
It was actually quite funny because the guy came by and putting his water, and they're like, Herb's gonna want more lemon, or want some lemons. Can you get him some lemons in there? And he went and got you some lemons, so you didn't notice it. But I made sure you got covered.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Well, lunch. Did we get lemon? Did we get lemon for lunch? I guess we did.
Yeah, we had lemon.
The hamburger place. I don't think I got lemon. I don't remember. There was one place that we ate that I didn't get a lemon.
So we tried a lot of different places this last weekend, which has been pretty interesting, pretty fun. We also got to see our good friend James, who you may remember from some of our previous casts, or at least some previous casts of Herb's.
Yeah, he's been on. Yeah, he's been on a couple things for sure. You can find James very easily.
Yeah, we went and saw him in a production.
We had a crew of us, like 4 of us went out to see James, which was cool.
Yeah, good college friends. This is, it's kind of amazing to think. I met you, Herb, in what, 2002, 2003?
I think it was 2002.
Yeah, I think 2002. And here we are, 2008. We're still friends, still hanging out. Still, definitely not doing the same thing in my world, but, Herb's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Except, with the nice new guitar, new shiny guitar.
Got a new Gibson Les Paul I have now. Yeah, it's amazing, and also the technology. One thing that we were talking about when we were doing whatever in the return of whatever, and really in the return of whatever, processor speeds had slowed down because they got more efficient, and now with the dual core. And the Apple, one of the new Apples, they have 8 cores in it, I think.
Yeah, they have I think the dual quad cores.
Golly, it's
Yeah, but the funny thing is, you're finding that Intel is finally giving up the megahertz myth. Back I want to say 3 years ago, the first 3 gigahertz machine came out. 3 or 4 years ago, the first 3 gigahertz machine came out. Look at the processor speed now. We're barely hitting the 2.6 gigahertz mark, but the processors are more efficient. They're taking the idea of, let's make our processors actually, pump the data properly instead of just pumping the data based on how much electricity you can pump through it.
Well, some of those P4s, some of those P3s were really hot processors, weren't they?
Yeah, well, and it's not even that they're just really hot. They didn't perform at all. I remember the first time I had a Centrino laptop. I had a 1.6 gigahertz Centrino.
Oh, wow.
And my desktop at the time, at the office I was at, had a 2.4 gigahertz Pentium 4. My Centrino would scream over the Pentium 4.
Because the processors were a lot more efficient, right?
Yep. And this is a laptop versus a desktop, which that should never happen, I think.
Remember the heat sink on the Pentium 2s? You remember the heat sinks on some of
the
those.
slot Pentium 2s?
Yeah, that was a big honking heat sink.
Well, I thought that was a very innovative idea for the time. But
That's and a P2 computer.
the heat sinks on the modern computers are much heavier duty. The processors are much smaller, but the heat sinks are twice as big.
Wow. Well, sadly, I don't get inside the computers as much anymore because it really got to a point it's almost cheaper to just buy one put together now than it is to build one.
Actually, yeah, and the quality's gotten better, and people are expecting quality now more than they did 10 years ago.
Since I buy mainly Apple computers now,
Same here. As you know, Herb, I used to tease Herb a lot back when we were in college about him being the Apple user, and then I get out and in the real world, and I'm now an Apple user.
Well,
It's actually we're recording this on my iMac, so
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Vista just there's so many people that I think that have been really disappointed with Vista, and not so much because the software is so bad, but it's just really processor intensive for it to work well. If you get a really good computer with a lot of RAM, it works fine. But if you get the low end machine, this is the 512 RAM, you're going to be waiting there for a while for even surfing the web and whatnot.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a little bit of hype on some of the things that are broken with Vista, but I haven't actually experienced it, so I've not. I mean, I've not used it, so I can't. I'm not going to commit to it being a bad OS.
I've only used it very little. I still like XP. I mean, I will use XP occasionally.
I use it every day at work, but I don't like it. Well, I don't like it for other reasons, though.
Well, really, like the Mac people. I mean, a lot of people naysayers about Macs say, well, they're gonna start writing viruses for Macs and so forth. And I guess they could. It hasn't happened yet, really.
No, there are quite a few viruses out there on the Mac, but it's like anything else. I think it'll be a good day when there's a lot of people writing viruses for Macs, honestly, because that means there will be a lot of software written for Macs. That being said, I love the fact that everything I need to use on a daily basis came with my Mac, but I would like eventually to have more games available on the Mac, so I don't have to boot into Windows occasionally.
Yeah, it's I mean, a couple of things that Apple did, for them to take it's harder to take control of the computer because if you're not an admin on there, you have to type in the admin password to install software, install things, which I think is I won't say innovative, but I think it's a good feature to have, and that's probably the biggest problem with Windows is that it can be hijacked really easy.
On the Mac, actually, there is a root account. If you log in as your root account, you can install, do whatever you want. You don't have to decide the password. But I mean, that's just simple security,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's we talked about how Wi-Fi has changed everything. Like all these houses was going to be wired, and now with Wi-Fi, they make new houses without that. It's just amazing the amount of technology since the time that we've known each other has changed and grown. And
I think about the early days when I started into college, which that wasn't that long ago to a lot of y'all. I know to Herb it wasn't that long ago. But when I started college, I mean, I had worked that summer prior and the year prior to me starting college. I had worked at a computer company, kind of as almost an intern type position, and I learned a lot about networking and building computers and such. So I came into college having the fastest machine that any of my friends had ever seen. A Pentium 2 333 megahertz, and I had a hub with my own RJ45 cables, Cat5 cables. I had my own crimper, and I actually networked my own apartment. And this is 98, and everybody was amazed because no one had a network department back then. No one had a network back then, unless you lived on campus and you lived in a dorm. But now it's kind of like, who doesn't have a network? Who doesn't have a wireless access? I mean, I walk around and I see kids with their cell phones texting each other constantly, and it's kind of implicit that, I mean, actually, it's really been funny for me recently when I was at the Art Museum this past weekend. I saw these a couple girls that were sitting there. I think they were part of a high school class that was doing a tour or something, and they were using BlackBerries.
Wow.
I would never have thought a BlackBerry device would be in the hands of a teenager. But what do I know?
We got to go to the Apple store yesterday and looking at the iPod Touch and of course the iPhone. Just really slick devices that and literally with the iPod Touch, it's so small. I mean, that will fit in your pocket very easily, and since it's got a web browser on there, I mean, any information you need to find, you can have really literally the touch of your hands if you have a Wi-Fi network, which I think is really fascinating. And my physics teacher back in 1988 made a prediction that he said at some point you'll have access to something the size of a cigarette box. You'll have access to all the information in the world, and he said it'd be a little computer basically to be able to access. And I don't think he realized that it would be wireless. He probably thought it'd be a little chip stored onto the computer, but that way, if it's only little chips on the computer, well, then that needs to get updated. Well, if it's on the internet, if it's wireless, well, it can be updated in seconds all over the world and instantaneously changed. So I don't think he understood that concept of it, but golly,
He was very forward thinking, though.
yeah. I mean, he just literally said that something that would fit in your shirt pocket, the size of a cigarette case, will have all the information in the world. And this was 1988, so that's
20 years ago.
yeah. So he's still alive. How you doing, Mr. Sozzi? I'm sure he still is.
Yeah, but anyway, so it's been a while since we've actually talked on camera here, or even really talked in any sort of podcast format. And I know that there are a lot of these, social networking sites and lots of new Web 2.0, Web 3.0, Web 1.0, Next Web. I'm not sure what they're calling it this year. Websites and stuff that are out there. I'm actually kind of I guess at this point I've just developed a love-hate relationship with Facebook. But what about you? Do you have any sites like that you've been perusing or enjoying recently?
Well, I definitely do the Facebook and the MySpace thing. And the problem with the Facebook is all those apps. You get downloading about 10,000 zombie apps or
I think that really
Super Bowl this or whatever. Or,
I think that I may have to put together an app or something that says automatically deny other apps or app requests of certain types.
every once in a while, I see somebody on their bulletin that would put, if you send me more apps, I'm going to delete you as a friend. And that can be heartbreaking for some people.
Yeah. The thing about that is, and that's where my hate on Facebook is, because I love the design, I love the speed, I love the simplicity, I like just the layout in general. I like the fact that it doesn't sedan me constantly, like MySpace and
MySpace. Some of those MySpace pages, you can't. I haven't had one recently crash my computer, but they used to crash my computer all the time.
It doesn't look ugly as sin.
Oh golly! You can read the text.
Yeah.
Here's a tip for you. Pink on red is very difficult to read.
Here's another tip on it for you. Black and red candy canes as your background with black type doesn't quite work either. Really, anytime you have the same color in your background and a similar color in the foreground, it's not going to be readable.
This is sad. Well, I guess not sad because I like my MySpace. I don't even know how to put things on there, and I'm glad I don't know how to put things. I know how to put things on there, but even that's too complicated for me to want to do.
Take a look at my MySpace. My MySpace is very, very clean. All right, it's www.myspace.com/return-of-whatever.
Yeah.
And just take a look, and you'll see what I would like out of MySpace. I actually modeled my MySpace page after what I'd seen on Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice. Clean. Mine is nothing. No, I don't have any dancing canes or anything like that walking around. It's just crazy. Yeah, and things come and go on the internet, as we've seen.
Oh yeah, you think, let's see, 10 years ago, what sites did you visit on a regular basis?
Yahoo.
See, I was, or actually, who handled your email account?
Hotmail.
Same here. Have you even thought about Hotmail over the last 5 years?
No, I've only checked it every once in a while. I'll just check it in case one of my old friends might have sent me something and they never do. So, but yeah, it's just. No, I mean, now Gmail, of course, is the king for me,
Mm-hmm.
and Google is the king for search engines. What else did I do 10 years ago? You know, I think I went to USA Today. I'm looking at the news there.
Well, 10 years ago, I used to use Tom's Hardware to non-tech.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, 10 years ago, Tom's Hardware had good reviews. But I think things have changed up in their management. It's no longer just Tom, who used to buy lots of hardware and review it. It's now a corporate entity, and it's lost a lot of the feel. But
yeah, 10 years ago, I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but, 98, when this guitar was 2 years old. Way back in the yesteryear. Golly, yeah, I mean, I just remember this. 98, what computer was I using in 98? It would have been a G3? I think, it might have been,
G3 233s were cut out at that time, I think.
It might have actually, I might have still been using one of the Power PC chips, the 604s at that time, because the G3s just came out, they were a little more expensive at the time. So, I remember surfing, if you're a Mac person, I remember surfing on the internet on a Mac Classic 2.
We did that like a year ago or something, didn't you?
Well, I was able to send an email via my Mac Plus, which I thought was cool, but that actually wasn't too difficult to do. But I surfed the internet with Mac Classic 2 on Apple Talk, and and if you know what that is, it's a 9-inch screen. It's black and white, and it was rough. It was rough, and I remember this. I bought a dial-up connection, and it was like $28 a month then. And I think it went to 35 at one point. Then it went back. I got a teaching discount at one point, and that's why it was like 27 or something like that with a discount. And I was about to cancel the first month because I couldn't make it. And I was doing this on the LC3 computer, right? Yeah. And it was just so slow. I said, forget this. This is garbage. I can't use it. So. And I was using Netscape at the time.
Which no longer exists.
No longer exists.
It used to be the king 10 years ago.
It was. I was using Netscape, and I realized if I turned the cache off, it worked a lot. I mean, not like a little bit, but like 10 times better. So I said, I can keep it now and use this. I remember one time at SFA, they had this, that if you lived far away from SFA, they had an 800 number that you could call up a dial-up connection.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't last very long.
Actually, they still have that. Well, at least they did when I was there.
They may have changed the number because they pretty much said due to excessive phone bills, this has been canceled because of this. But yeah, it was. I could definitely see people. In their mind, they thought, well, people are going to check the email for 5 minutes. No, people were surfing the internet. That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
When was the last time you surfed the internet, Amit?
Surfed it.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That was the phrase 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm surfing
still there.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's but you gotta think like 10 years ago, the idea of search engine. What was the idea of search engine? For me, it was web crawl.
Okay. I used I've used Excite. I used the Lycos at one point. What was that one? A Hotbot. Hotbot was one I used.
I don't think you've heard of that one, but Lycos and Excite and WebCrawler were some of the top ones. Where are they now? I think most of them have been gobbled up by Yahoo, honestly. But you know who the king is? This little company that no one knew of 10 years ago. Little company that's now, I wish I had stock in it.
Yeah, Google is crazy. Google is king right now. But that just proves that 10 years from now we may not be. We may think of them as the Yahoo.
Or we'll think of them as like Site, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
actually, Yahoo still Yahoo. They were smart enough to figure out, okay, let's do something different along with it, and they're still trying to get the search engine thing back, I'm sure. But they have a lot of other avenues for.
Yahoo's very well diversified with what they've done. Other things that are amazing to me when it comes to technology in the last 10 years is, 10 years ago, everybody thought that Apple was going to be dead.
Without a doubt. And this is 10 years ago when Steve Jobs came back, wasn't it?
Yep. 10 years ago, It was when Steve Jobs came back, and he had his infamous moment where he was on stage with Bill Gates, looking down on him as if he was Big Brother. If you don't know what I mean, take a look online for the video of this, or watch the movie Pirates of Silicon Valley.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. It's the world's a better place for this. And that was a sad. I remember seeing that. That was a sad moment to me. I remember when Steve Jobs came back, his PowerPoint presentation was actually on an Apple ThinkPad. I mean, on an IBM ThinkPad. He didn't even use a Mac to use his PowerPoint presentation at the time.
I did not notice that. That's interesting.
He actually did his PowerPoint presentation on IBM ThinkPad.
Wow. So in other words, the enemy. He used the enemy's machine.
Yeah.
But I did know that when he did come back to Apple, his own machine there was a Next box.
Well, he right away, and you probably don't remember this as much, but they had a period for 2 years that they had Apple clones out there.
Oh yeah.
And they were the PowerPC chip, and he, as soon as he came back, whoosh, that was gone.
Yeah, because you can't control quality, and you get a bad name that way. And then the other thing that he did, which I don't know if I was as happy about at the time. I mean, it kind of worked out, but I think there were some things that could have been done differently. He kind of spearheaded his idea of taking the Next OS and bringing that to Apple instead of BOS. Now, remember BOS?
Yeah, I remember BOS.
Did you ever actually play with it or try it out?
Very little, but yes, it did.
Yeah, that was amazing.
It was ahead of its time.
Yeah, some of the concepts it had are still, are barely getting into OSs now.
Yeah, it's really slick.
And another thing I would just say in general, for all you watchers out there, take a look at some of the stuff that they're doing on the Linux front, operating system usability wise. They have some really neat stuff that even Apple is like, no, we can't do that yet. And Apple, everybody will hands down agree that Apple has the simplest, most elegant UI.
It does. And in some ways, I'm glad they used the Next thing, because that was the OS 10 basically, and the OS 10 has turned out to be really the Unix-based system has turned out to be.
But at the time period, they were looking at BOS or OS X as an operating system, and either one would have worked.
Yeah, I think so. I think now, just because I got used to OS 10. When OS 10 first came out, I hated it because I was used to OS 9. I was OS 9 for life.
God.
And because I knew it so well, I knew that, and then finally, it took me 2 years to finally get to it was 10.2 came out. That's when I started using OS 10. I missed 10, and then I missed 10.1, and then 10.2 I came on board and haven't looked back since.
Mm-hmm.
Been very, very happy. And actually, at one point there, when the machine you built me, basically, I was using that as my main machine for a while there, the XP box.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
200 or was it like $160 special or something?
Yeah, I got to the point that the 500 megahertz Mac that I was using that I could afford just wasn't cutting it power wise for doing what I needed to do. Yeah. And now with the dual quad processor in the MacBook, I'm more than happy with that speed. It does everything great.
And dual core 2 actually.
Dual core, you're right. Dual core.
Did you get dual core or dual core 2?
I believe I got dual core 2.
Okay. I'm not sure. Do you have the same version I do or not?
I believe I got the dual core 2.
All right. Well, that is a freaking awesome processor.
It's a great computer.
Yeah, the only thing that I was sad about it, they never did come out with the G5s for the laptops.
You know why they never did? They were too hot. They can never because there's a couple of G5s on campus that are water cooled, just because the G5 processor was so hot.
But technologically, they were superior, and they still are superior to what Intel has out there.
It's a good chip. It's a good hot chip, but it's a good chip. And I think that's what they were. They were trying. I think they were trying to get those things into laptops, and basically, I think they would just burn your leg off if they ever made it out to the public. Right now, it's amazing the amount of power in those laptops. When I think back to the computer stages And with my MacBook, I basically am a technology media person. I have a built-in camera, a built-in microphone. I've done this before, Meet, that I went to play an open mic night, recorded myself with a MacBook, edited it, and so with it, and threw it on YouTube. So within 15 minutes of me playing there at open mic night, I had it on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
So before the open mic was done, I actually had it on YouTube for people to watch.
That's pretty slick.
And the reason why is because I had Wi-Fi in the air there.
Imagine how you would have been able to do that 10 years ago.
Oh,
Or if you could have been able to do that 10 years ago.
well, 10 years ago, I mean, FireWire wasn't out for, I mean, at least not where I knew of it much. I mean, I think it might have been on some of the higher end cameras, but not
Well,
with
the USB was out, and they did have USB video cameras.
Yeah.
Or webcams. They were really grainy and
really crummy.
crummy,
They're
yes.
pretty crummy.
The audio processing would have taken you at least an hour.
Or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was doing 5 minutes, so that might, I mean, who knows how long that would have took. And then there was no wireless. I had to go find a wire somewhere and plug it in.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 years ago, it would have been a megabit connection, probably, wouldn't it? It wouldn't have been a 10 megabit.
10 years ago, yeah, I remember 10 years ago you would have either used Token Ring, Apple Talk, or 10 base T.
Yeah, I forgot.
10 base T, which is 1 to 1 megabit.
1 megabit. Apple Talk was, man, what was that?
They
That was
were
like 300 and something kilobits or something like that.
No, Apple Talk was actually better than 10 base T. back then.
Was it 1.5?
Yeah, it was
Okay,
1.5.
it was 1.5. I
But
don't know if you ever actually got
the
that.
one that no one ever thinks about is good old Token Ring.
What was that speed?
1224. I think 1224. So a lot of corporate networks used it.
I got my token ring.
Yeah. The idea behind Token Ring was that if you get to your work when you have the token.
Oh, so
So-
a round robin, basically?
Yeah, I would go, you get the token? You get the token, you get to your level of work. You get the token?
How did it work? Did it work okay?
I actually have never ever worked on a Token Ring network. I know they're out there, a lot of them in the UK, but never used them. But they were faster back then.
Well, that was distributed computing at the time, right? When you had one computer with all these dumb terminals, right?
Yeah, token rings were heavily. That technology really made its was really strong back in the early days of or back in the days with a dumb terminal. Nowadays, there's no such thing as a dumb terminal.
That reminds me. 10 years ago, they were talking about the network computer. Remember that?
Yeah.
That you would basically have a dummy computer and you would log on to a smarter computer and you store all your files there and whatnot.
Yeah, we have that now. It's called an iPhone, an iPod Touch, a BlackBerry. It's a cell phone.
You're right.
I mean, we have that, but we don't have it the way it was realized back then.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this on one of the casts we did that when I mean, was it Xerox or IBM? I think it was IBM. They thought, oh, person, why would anybody want a computer in their house? And the only thing they could come up with was so that people could catalog their recipes. It was the only reason they could come up with why anybody would want a personal computer in their house.
Yeah.
And now it's everywhere. It's become translation. When my dad, when my grandparents got to use the internet before they passed away. I mean, it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating the power of the computer and what it's able to do, and bring us all closer together. And I think Amit, we got some ideas, and you got some ideas. I know for sure it's gonna bring the world closer together.
Yeah, one of those days.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll say it'll be an easy way for friends to link up or something, right?
Yeah, I think so. and even though a lot of my songs aren't that good, my songs have gone all over the world, and I'm amazed at who watches those videos and the comments I get from all over the world.
Big thing that I have to say will really help the computing technologies and such is that computers moved from being just number crunching devices or computing devices into being entertainment devices.
Yep. Well, they were always entertaining to me.
Well, I mean, but you gotta think the old computers, prior to your day even, that you fed in numbers and you got numbers out. They were computational machines.
And very few people use it specifically for that anymore.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I use it for that with some of the programs that I work on right now. But yeah, part of it is that business software is computational. Podcasting is entertainment, but it is still computational in some respects. So,
well, we have
encoding, decoding, all that. That's computational. That's all bits, ones and zeros, and bit shifting, really.
Well, I can't wait to see this on Apple TV somewhere all across the land, and maybe we can try to get this particular one 1,000 views, maybe. That'd be kind of cool. I haven't had I don't think I've had a podcast by itself get over a couple hundred, so I think we get it. Maybe we can push this one to get over 1,000, because this has been historical information from Amit and Herb.
Well, I think if we had said some of the hot button issues that you usually find on sites like Dig or so about Scientology, or had a top 10 list or something, we could get
zombie dogs or something,
zombies ears and titles or something.
Yeah.
I mean, people would dig it.
Well, I'll put a keyword Gibson Les Paul Studio 1996, and we'll put Apple TV's a link in there. Maybe we'll get a couple of hits from that just for grins. But yeah, it's truly amazing. It's always a pleasure to get a chance to sit together and talk about technology with folks that actually use it and love it, and I think can talk about it in an entertaining way.
Okay. I don't even care if I'm entertaining or not. I just love it, and I think you guys who are out there watching the show, you guys must love it too, because hey, you guys found us, and we love what we do. I mean, I love being a developer. He loves being a teacher with this emphasis of technology. And it's too bad Dan's not here, because I know he loves being assistant admin.
Sometime maybe we'll get a chance to go up to Boston area and get a trio together. Because we never did that once live all together, I don't think. No, we never did. Because Dan never was down here, or I never...
No, he never did, and he was never on whatever either.
No. He was invited. He just never came on whatever.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people, so
that's another telling thing on technology and how far things have changed. When we first met, we met on an actual TV studio, right?
It wasn't much of one, but it was.
I remember the shack, but it was still a TV studio.
Yeah.
Now we're at my dining room recording something that's probably higher quality,
and
with higher distribution than that.
Definitely.
And it cost a hell of a lot less to shoot, I think.
Well, I remember this. I gave my cell phone out, and I said, "I'm just curious, who's watching? Here's my cell phone number." And actually, a few people called up. I was shocked. I'll close on this one. I think I told you this story. I was riding my bicycle, and this guy came running out of Dairy Queen, and I knew who he was, so I just kind of kept on going. And I went back. I was going running, and then next day I came out, and he sort of came running out again. And this time he was within the earshot. Hey, were you on TV? And I thought, okay, this guy saw me on Tech TV. Somebody did a nerd song on Tech TV. I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I used to watch you guys all the time, and you like Aquaman. And I thought, he saw whatever. And he said, yeah, whenever I could see it, I would record it.
Wow, you had it.
And I'm thinking, why is this guy working at Dairy Queen? Anyways, but I'm just thinking, wow, this is crazy, man.
But that was in this whole small town with a pretty low amount of accessible TV shows.
Because no one watches stuff over the rabbit ears, and that's the only way you could have watched this.
Yeah, you got that. But now, I mean, because of Return of Whatever, when we were doing the audio podcast, I made friends all over the world. I remember when we used to have a deal where people would call in and be part of the show, and we had people from California, Florida. I actually physically met one of the fans down in Arizona, and it was amazing how many people would get involved.
It's amazing. It's still amazing, and I feel really lucky. And I will end this today. The Chinese has a curse. I mean, you live in interesting times. We live in very interesting times, and we'll see what happens. And to all the naysayers about the economy and this, that, and the other, you know what? you got podcasts, life is good.
Yeah.
And so for whatever, return of whatever you want to call this.
No, this is not Return Whatever. This is the Herb Report.
The Herb Report.
You kept it going, and I'm going to give you your props, buddy.
Well, it's they all kind of go together. And so I'm Herbert Midgley, and
I'm Amit Dedia. We'll see you, well, when we see you. Hopefully we'll keep this going.
it even sounds good without an amp. Rock and roll, everybody.